guys are lucky enough to be watching the best daily sports betting show on the planet. We got a great lineup today. One of the best, Marco D'Angelo, joining us. He's going to talk WNBA, and it's a 1 p.m. Eastern start time, so we'll get straight into that. Minnesota at Dallas. He's also going to look at Detroit and the Angels in baseball. Ralph Michaels after that. He's got a bet for us on the Cleveland-Kansas City game. College football, I think it's 57 or 8 days away. He's going to look at an August 31st game between Arizona minus 30 against New Mexico, and he has an NFL chart. We'll end the show with Kyle Anthony. He's got 2 UFC bets. If you've never heard Kyle or bet his plays, what are you waiting for? Unbelievable in UFC. A jam-packed show. But before we get into all of that, Teddy covers, are you going to watch the debate tonight?
Probably. I'll at least have it on in the background. In terms of like right now, what I'm doing, Lawrence, outside of this show, I'm doing
NFL.
I mean, I am living, and the report comes out next week, comes out next Tuesday. It's crunch time. It's, shit or get off the pot time with a lot of these teams for me. So, yeah, there's the debate will be on probably. How much attention I'm paying to it is debatable, as we say. My big game breakdown is going to be on Cleveland and Kansas City. And, of course, in What Bettors Learn, we'll talk a little NBA draft and what happened last night and how little we should let that affect our opinions about these teams. Lawrence?
I'm going to watch the debate tonight, Teddy. I
can't even vote.
It's going to be, well, because I don't get to vote doesn't mean I'm not going to. I think it's going to be one of the most entertaining 90 minutes in a long, long time. I think it's going to be one of the most, if not the single most watched debate of all time. Let us know if you guys are going to watch tonight. Marco D'Angelo joining us. Oh, Teddy disagrees. How are you, Marco?
It's summer. No, we'll get the debate that everyone watches in the fall. This one tonight, no.
Okay. Marco, welcome.
Hey, how are you guys doing? Excited about getting here and talking some sports. And no, Prez, before you ask me, I will not be watching. If I'm watching anything tonight, it'll be a baseball game in the background, and I'll be focused in on watching the Las Vegas Aces in Chicago tonight, WNBA action.
There we go. Marco, well, speaking of WNBA, let's get straight into it. Minnesota at Dallas. Dallas is plus 10. Tell us where to go in this game.
Guys, I'm a big situational guy, and it has been bread and butter time for me with situations in the WNBA this year. I've had great success, and I'll talk about my success a little bit later. But this game, this is the epitome of a spot. And the spot is you've got Minnesota playing today. They're 13-3 on the season, tied for the second best record in the WNBA. But they have not been in the conversation all year. It's the New York Liberty. It's the back-to-back champs, the Las Vegas Aces. Connecticut, the best record in the WNBA this year. And then, of course, all the Indiana Fever, Caitlin Clark talk. They have been, you have to go 5 deep before you actually start talking about Minnesota. Well, they made a statement the other night. Tuesday night, they were in New York for the Commissioner's Cup game. They beat the New York Liberty on their home floor and won the cup. So you say, so what? Well, that was the statement game, serving notice to the rest of the WNBA that they are a legit contender for the championship this year. But more importantly, for those of you that don't know the dynamics of the WNBA, unless you're one of the elite players in the WNBA superstar, you're not making a lot of money in the WNBA. In the winning team, each player for winning the Commissioner's Cup, received about $40,000 for that win. That's huge for most of the WNBA players. So, I always like to say the old fat and sassy angle. They're going to be that. And I'll point out last year when the New York Liberty beat Vegas for the Commissioner's Cup, they laid an egg in their next game. And this one's even better because they're going from Tuesday night playing in New York, winning the Commissioner's Cup, to playing on Thursday afternoon at 1 o'clock. How do you get excited for playing at 1 o'clock in the afternoon on a Thursday? How many people are going to be there to even watch this game today? Throw in the fact they're playing a team that they beat twice already this year, both in Minnesota, and a team that's currently on a losing streak, a 10 or 11 game losing streak. You're just not going to get up for this game. I played this game last night overnight when I sent it in. The line was 10. I grabbed the 10 last night. It is down to 9.5 this morning. I still like it. I think this game's going to be a very close game today. Minnesota going to be flat in this one. I'm taking Dallas plus the points in this one to be a lot closer than the lines maker think it will be.
So I have so many questions to ask you here, but I'm going to limit myself to one, Marco. And let me start with it. I mean, we have a good team against a bad team. I get the spot. However, isn't the spot just as bad for the bad team? We have a bad team coming home off a road trip, which is one of your classic fade spots in that first game back, especially for an early start game that no one's going to be at. So I have that question. And I've also got, I mean, Dallas just stinks, man. I mean, going through their game log, you're saying, I mean, every game they're losing 8, 9, 15, 22. They're not in these games. They're getting beat pretty good. So you're taking a bad team in a bad spot. Tell me about it.
Two things, and you're absolutely right about coming off the road trip, but there are some caveats sometimes where I will look at something. If you're playing one of the elite teams, you're gonna be up for it, okay? And they've had a couple days off because of the Commissioner's Cup, so they'll be ready for this game. And mentally, coming off the Commissioner's Cup game, like the All-Star break in baseball, even though it's not the exact halfway point of the season, this is kind of the restart to the second half of the season, and everybody comes out. You want to start that second half, on a good note. So good points, Teddy. Yeah, I love when you fire back my own stuff at me, and it's good when you do that. But those are the caveats why, in this particular situation, I'm looking to, overlook that, so to speak.
Marco D'Angelo joining us, everyone, co-founder of WagerTalk. And we got an unbelievable special up for you, Marco. Every time you come on the show, I talk about how great you've been doing. Your winning record is amazing. This calendar year, 2024, has been absolutely outstanding. Your baseball and WNBA are kicking ass. So we got a special sent to us. $569 is the regular price for Marco's baseball season. We're going to discount that by $100, make it $469, and we're going to throw in his WNBA on the house. Marco, tell us and the clients why people should invest $469 and join you for the rest of baseball and WNBA.
Well, Prez, as you said, we're giving them a $100 discount right off the bat, big savings for them. But I'm throwing in my WNBA, and most of my WNBA plays sell for $25 a piece. I can tell you this much. If you're looking for WNBA action every single day, you will not get that from me. I've made 11 plays this season. We've won 10 of the 11. I'm doing situational spots when they come up. As I told you guys in an earlier show this year, I'm doing a lot of coverage here locally, radio-wise in Las Vegas with the WNBA because of the Aces, and I'm a season ticket holder, so I'm watching all these games. I'm trying to turn that into a profit as I'm going to go watch these games and enjoy them. We got to make money. It makes the games even more enjoyable. So you'll get all of the plays that I release to my clients as a free bonus when you buy the baseball.
There we go. Take advantage of that offer, everyone, and win some money with Marco D'Angelo. Marco, the Tigers are playing the Angels today. You have a first 5 bet for us. What is it?
Yeah, the Tigers are beginning a 10-game road trip tonight. And as Teddy pointed out in the last segment, how I like to go against teams, their first game back home off a road trip. I also like to go with teams starting a road trip. You're going out on the road for a long period of time. You want to get things off to a good start. You're generally the most focused out of the gate in that first game. And they're going to be playing an Angels team. Yes, I realize this Angels team has won 3 in a row, but pump the brakes. It was against the A's, okay? That's nothing to write home about. The Tigers are sending Jack Flaherty to the mound today. His last 4 starts, guys, which has encompassed 22 and change inning-wise, he's allowed a grand total of 1 run. 1 run over 4 starts. He's going to be facing, and the other part of it is, this season, you hear me talk about strikeout to walk ratio and everything, an insane 108 strikeouts to just 13 walks on the season. Wow. This guy's been in full command from the beginning of the season all the way through. Now he's going to be facing Davis Daniel for the Angels. He just got called up from Salt Lake. He's going to be making his first career start. And it was funny that Teddy cross-examined me with throwing stuff at me. I already had this set into my breakdown here. I'm going to do my Teddy impersonation before he does it to me in this game. So, Marco, you've got a guy making his first start in Major League Baseball. Aren't you the guy that always tells us the pitcher has the advantage over the hitters the first time through the league? Why are you going against him? Can you explain that? Well, Teddy, as usual, that was a great question on your part, and I'll explain why. Because this guy is not getting the call up because he deserves it. He's getting the call up because they have nobody to pitch, all right? Their starting rotation is decimated with injuries. Sandoval's out for the season with an elbow. Siriano is still on the injured list with an abdomen injury. They had to call a guy up from Salt Lake that's 27, and he's making his first career start. When you're still 27 and you're getting your first major league start, there's a reason for that. His ERA at Salt Lake this year was 5.69, okay? Nothing to write home about. And all I got to do is get 1 run off of him because Flaherty's not giving anything up. I'm going to go ahead and take Detroit minus a half a run, first 5 innings. We're taking the bullpens out of the equation. By going first 5 innings, we take a big favorite down to minus 120, and that's where we were at. And a little stat on the Angels this year against AL Central opponents, which that's where the Tigers are from, 2-11 this year, straight up against the AL Central. Give me the Tigers, first 5, minus a half.
So, Marco, last time you were on the show, you were dealing, you were a trooper. You were dealing with COVID issues, and you came on, and I was trying to take it easy on you. Today, you seem to be much better. There's no way I'm going to take it easy on you now if you're going to ask. That being said, I mean, my basic question, your follow wasn't my follow. My basic question is this. Detroit stinks, all right? It's like the Dallas Stars or the Dallas, whatever, the Wings in the WNBA. Wings. You're betting on a bad team, all right? Detroit is what? They're 3-7 in their last 10 ball games. It goes back further than that. This team, I think now, something like 8-17. I mean, it's been a steady decline for Detroit over the last month or so. Why is this a team we want? And it's not a pick-em price. It's like, well, minus 145, minus 150. There's juice to be laid here. Or you're laying a half a run. You're asking a bad team to do something that they've struggled to do of late. So talk to me about Detroit and whether they are worthy of laying any kind of price with.
Well, obviously they are a bad team, Teddy. I'm not going to argue that fact with you. But when I look over at the other side of the ledger, as bad as you may say that Detroit is, they're 4 games better than the Angels. Okay. So they're playing another bad team. And it is such an absolute mismatch as far as the starting pitching goes. And with what I feel we have is an edge in pitching to get it where I only have to beat them over the first 5 innings. I'm not actually asking them to win the game. I'm asking them to get me 5 innings, and I'm only laying $1.20. To me, I think that is a bargain as versus going the full game and laying the price with the Tigers. I would agree with you there. And it's just hard to step in front of a guy that has been as good as Flaherty has been. And on the road this year, ironically, his 8 road starts, they're 6-2 in his 8 road starts this year. So I'm going to go ahead and take the first 5 there, but I can't argue with you that they're not a good team, and you'll go broke in baseball if you, on a regular basis, lay a number of, north of 140 with a bad baseball team.
Marco D'Angelo. Thanks for joining us, brother. Guys, take advantage of that promo. $469. You get the rest of Marco's baseball all the way till the champion is crowned, plus his WNBA, and he is 10-1 this season in WNBA. Awesome stuff. We got a big show still happening. Ralph Michaels will be joining us. Kyle Anthony at the end of the show. Teddy's big game breakdown. Before we get into that real quick, Andrew Waj mentioned that The Bear came out season 3. If you guys have not watched that show, season 1 and 2, it is spectacular. One of the best written shows on television. Tight dialogue. Just an exceptional show. So make sure to check that out. And if you guys want a show to watch with your family, your wife, your children, we just finished Acapulco. It's on Apple TV. It's a tough show to fully recommend because it really is a bubblegum style sort of sitcom drama. It's not normally the type of shows I watched. It's like in the vein of a Schitt's Creek type of a show. It is spectacular. It's brilliantly written and worth the watch, especially if you're with your family. Teddy covers. What did bettors learn?
We had the NBA draft last night. A draft with no superstars, a draft with no Wembanyama at the top. I started thinking about number 1 picks and what the number 1 picks have done and what the NBA draft has done. And of course, I went back 2008, Derrick Rose, then Blake Griffin, John Wall, Kyrie, Anthony Davis, 5 straight years we had a dominant player go number 1. And I started looking back. I'm like, well, what about Michael Olowokandi or Kwame Brown, Joe Smith? Remember him? Andre Bargnani, Greg Oden? Lots of bad number 1s. Last 10 years prior to last night, number 1 pick overall, the Cavs draft Anthony Bennett. The Cavs draft Andrew Wiggins. The T-Wolves draft Karl Anthony Towns. The 76ers draft Ben Simmons. The 76ers draft Markelle Fultz. The Suns draft DeAndre Ayton. The Pelicans draft Zion. The T-Wolves draft Anthony Edwards. The Pistons, Cade Cunningham. The Magic, Paolo Banchero. And then last year, the Spurs with Wembanyama. When you go through that list, again, this is recent history. There's not many turn the franchise around, guys. Wembanyama, yes, franchise player. Anthony Edwards, yes, franchise player. The other 8, number 1 overall picks, largely non-factors. I know Zion is good. Cat 2, neither one changed the trajectory of the teams that drafted them in any real way. Anthony Bennett, Ben Simmons, DeAndre Ayton, Markelle Fultz, lots of legitimate busts during this span. So last night we had Zachary Rishacker as the number 1 in the NBA draft. Alex Sarr goes number 2. Reed Shepard goes number 3. Stephon Castle goes number 4. Ron Holland goes 5. And of course, the pundits have something to say about all of these guys. Nobody knows. All right. The NBA draft does not move the needle when it comes to the 2024-25 season win total markets, nor should it. From a betting standpoint, bet on the draft is one thing. If you expect any of the draft predictions to come true, well, not to tap the brakes on that a little bit. It's fairly random in that regard. So that's what I learned last night. Lawrence, the NBA draft, much ado about nothing when it comes to next year's NBA win totals.
Teddy, I remember when Andre Bargnani was drafted number 1. It was from the Raptors, by the Raptors. I was sitting in Panama at the time watching the draft, and all I was doing was screaming at the TV, not the white guy, please, not the white guy. That did not turn out well. Ralph Michaels joining us. Ralph, welcome to WagerTalk Today. How are you, my friend? Ralph has no volume. While he unmutes, guys, take a second out of your day. Please hit that like button. It would be greatly appreciated. Let's get to 100 likes. And also subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. The amount of content that we're producing is incredible. We've got shows going all day, plus all these solo videos that are just very well received. So please subscribe to our channel and hit that like button. Ralph Michaels, let's try that again. How are you, buddy?
I apologize. I swear to God, I got a ghost in my place that keeps turning my microphone off because I did not touch the damn dial. So my apologies.
Well, Ralph, yesterday I was muted all day. I could not stop sneezing. My sneezing is still bad right now, but at least I'm on this mute button. I'm turning it on, turning it off. Let's get into some baseball. Cleveland playing Kansas City. Minus 115 on the money line for the Guardians. Where are we going here?
That's two mistakes I made today. Number one, muting my mic. Number two, using a game that Teddy's going to talk about. So my apologies, Teddy. I did not see that. But I like the Indians here, minus 115. Listen, I love watching this Indians team. They're young, they're exciting, they are cohesive. When you look at the Indians as a favorite or a dog to minus 160, they are the number one most profitable team in MLB action, plus 24.5% ROI. FYI, the Brewers are number two at plus 15.7. When you look at the Guardians against teams with a winning record, they are number one in ROI in MLB action. And listen to this, they're 17-4 as a small dog or a favorite against teams with a winning record. And here's a shocker, the number two team, guys, is actually the Colorado Rockies. They are 14-14 as a small, with an average line of plus 172 against teams with a winning record. Back to talk about Cleveland, though. They're 13-4 off a loss when they're a pick or a favorite. They're 14-6 in game number one of a series as a pick or favorite. They're batting 275 the last 10 days, averaging 5.9 runs per game. And you look at the Royals. The Royals started off the season 34-19, but since May 25th, they're only 10-19, and two of those wins was as a favorite of minus 200 or more. So excluding that huge favorite mark, they're only 8-19 since May 25th. They are 2-8 after a win, including 5 straight losses, and they're 2-7 in game one of a series, and one of those wins was as a 250 favorite. Now, we actually have a starters. I give the starters edge to Waka, but when you look at the bullpen, when you look at the current form, when you look at how they're hitting, the edges there go to the Cleveland Guardians. I will take the Guardians minus the $1.15.
So, Ralph, I too am going to make a case for Cleveland in my big game breakdown in just a few minutes. That being said, it did not make my client card for one reason and one reason only, and that's Waka. You talked about how you thought Waka was the better starting pitcher here. He's got a great track record against the Guardians. Current Guardians hitting 133 against him in their respective careers. Waka came off the DL last time out and was pretty dominant against Texas. We're talking about a pitcher that hasn't given up more than 2 earned runs in any start since the first week of May. Is this a guy we really want to fade?
Teddy, I have the exact same situation as you. It did not make my card because of Waka. You know what I mean? But yep, okay. I still think there's value on the play because of the bullpen, because of the way they're hitting. You know, you look at Waka. Let's remember this, though. You know, he pitched the last day in May 31st, and then he was on the IL until he faced Texas on the 22nd of June. So this is only a second start. So if he had pitched continuously, I would certainly not be fading him. But he pitched one game on the road at Texas, and now he's returning home against hot bats. So I will wait to see. So because of that gap in there, I am, you know, it made a best bet for the show.
Ralph Michaels joining us. Ralph, we've got college football right in front of us. I think it's 57 days from now. You want to talk about a game on Saturday, August 31st, Arizona laying 30 points against New Mexico. How do you suggest we bet this? And should we be betting it now?
Yeah, I don't think this line is going down. I like Arizona minus the points. I don't see any reason to back New Mexico, and let me make my point on this. First, let me give credit to Jed Fish. He took over after an 0-5 COVID year, said, I'm not going to change much. I'm going to recruit. He went 1-11 his first year, went 5-7 last year, 2 years ago, and went 10-3 last year and got him to the Alamo Bowl. Well, when you have that type of success, you get poached. He went off to Washington. Coming in, filling a spot is Brennan from San Jose, a coach I like. But look at that Arizona team. Last year, they went 10-3. There are 3 losses by 2 points to USC as a 21-point dog, a 7-point loss to Washington as a 20-point dog, and a 7-point loss to Mississippi State as a 9-point dog. They were number 17 in the country at plus 1.32 yards per play. They were a favorite last year twice, of 14 points or more. They covered both of those by 10 points per game. This year, they returned 15 starters, 8 on offense, 7 on defense. They are number 28 in returning production. Now, it's very unusual to have a coach leave late, a new coach come in, and not have all your players drop off on the transfer portal. But you have Noah Fiftia, a quarterback with a 25-6 ratio. You have a receiver in McMillan who is second team Pac-12, 1,400 yards. You also have a returning tight end that made 4 starts and a first team Pac-12 linebacker. All 4 of those players played at Servite High School in Anaheim. So you have 4 key starters on both sides of the ball. They talked all the players into staying. That is a very unique situation for that. And then, most importantly, will Arizona run up the score? I completely believe so. Again, you have the offensive and defensive stars on both sides of the ball. New Mexico only returning 9 starters. And if you say to me, okay, 9 starters back and all 3 on the offense are 2 wide receivers and a tight end, you have a new quarterback, you have a new rush attack, and you have 5 new starters on the offensive line. That spells trouble for me. And Dino Babers is the OC, the old Syracuse and Bowling Green head coach. His first year at Bowling Green, he likes to press the pace. Bowling Green was number 12 in number of plays run per game. In year number 2, Bowling Green was number 7. His first year at Syracuse, Syracuse was number 7 in plays per game run. In year number 2, Syracuse was the fastest paced team in college football. They averaged almost 88 plays per game. He wants his quarterback to get comfortable. You have an ESPN nationally televised game, and you only have Northern Arizona on deck. I have no trouble laying this number with this team against this opponent.
So, Ralph, I want to ask you, certainly when it comes to the database, and I'm interested to know what the database says about this. The big favorites week 1 in college football, let's say 28 points or more. Do we have a positive expectation with these big favorites? Do we have a negative expectation with these big favorites? Conceptually, is week 1 the type of week where if I'm playing, I'm laying? Or do you want the dog?
Well, Teddy, I actually had those numbers. So I went back to 2014, and I used 24 points or more just to get a base. And the answer, 184 ATS wins, 164 losses. So it's 52.9%. So basically break even. But listen to this caveat. It makes complete sense to me. I would like to know if it made sense to you. When you are laying 24 points or more against an FCS opponent, you have only covered 51.1%. If you have played an FBS foe and you're laying 24 points or more, you have covered 58.3%. And then when I looked at FBS teams and laying 28 points or more, those teams since 2014 have gone 42 and 21, 66.7%. So listen, these college kids, it's tough for them to get motivated playing an FCS foe that they know nothing about. But when they are playing an actual FBS Division I opponent, 67% laying 4 touchdowns or higher.
And that makes sense, Ralph. That passes the does it make sense test because we're talking about week 1 where you're not likely to overlook any opponent. And if you are, it's going to be after you're up by 5 touchdowns already. You know, so that week 1, we're not looking past this guy, has clearly produced long-term results. Ralph, you've got a chart for us today. Tell us what it is and what it means when it comes to playoff teams versus non-playoff teams, week 1 of the NFL.
Well, guys, if you didn't watch last Thursday's show, go back and look at the difference between home and away teams week 1. This is another week 1 situation. And all I did is this. I went back to 2006. I did exclude the COVID year. And in week one, we know when people look at an NFL team and say they made a playoff team, they have higher expectations going into the next season. There's no question. So if you blindly played every week one team that did not make the playoffs versus the team that made the playoffs, the top two lines, straight up, you've only won 41%. But take a look. Those non-playoff teams have covered 60.2% going back to 2016. Now, in the green, you see the home records. In the orangish, you see the away records. If you're at home and you're a favorite of -2 or higher, you have gone 13-3, 81.2%. Those are non-playoff teams that are a home favorite of 2 or more against a team that made the playoffs. And take a look at the bottom, the away teams. If you are an away favorite or a small away dog, you've only gone 2-5. But if you are a non-playoff team facing a playoff team and you're an away dog of 3 or more, you've gone 30-12, 71.4%. On the bottom, you see I put the two together. Home dogs of 2 or more and away dogs of +3 or higher are 43-15, 74.1%.
Was that home dogs or home favorites, Ralph?
You see, Teddy, I took the lines that were best. So the home line of -2 is they are a favorite of 2 or more. And the other home line is a favorite of 1 or a pick'em or a home dog. So they're not a home favorite or a home dog. I used a -2 as the division line because that's where the clean break was between the two sets of data.
Ralph Michaels joining us. Ralph, I'm curious to know, I mean, we can't discuss it on this show right now, but, you know, one of the angles I really love betting, and especially in hockey, is these teams that lose in the playoffs. You know, like Buffalo Bills or, you know, the Bengals lost this year or whatever. In their first game back, are they covering more than not? Because logic would assume these teams are hungry. They've had a bitter taste in their mouth for a long time. It's an angle I like to look at regularly. So just curious about that. Okay, brother, what do you got to promote?
Well, I made a third mistake. Father's Day was a couple weeks ago. Last year, my son and I had a father and son special for Father's Day. Buy a month, get one free. A couple people reached out to me, said, hey, why didn't you have that this year? So we threw it up now. You go on my homepage or Jeff's homepage, you get both him and me for 30 days for $299. So you're basically getting us for $5 each per day. Check it out, wt.buzz/RM.
Wonderful stuff. And last question, Ralph, before you run, one of our listeners, Javier, wants to know when your NFL and NCAAF guide will be coming out.
Well, you know, I'm doing some top 25 videos for the Gold Sheet. So the Gold Sheet and I are combining some efforts, and we're going to put out some NFL information next week and the college football in a few weeks. So keep tuned to that. The top 25 videos will be starting next week. We've done a couple already. They're so much fun, and I'm really having a blast doing them.
Brilliant stuff. Ralph Michaels, everyone. Awesome. So while Ralph was talking, Teddy and I were slacking each other, and I'm like, Teddy, no follow-up on this one game. You know, we got to get the show moving. And Teddy's like, no follow-up? You bitch about baseball. You bitch about football. What the hell do you want to talk about? My response, if I had my way, politics. But I can't. But I want to so bad. That's my passion. I love talking politics, religion, sociology, anthropology. I love discussing wokeism. I love discussing, you know, pop culture at the time. Yeah, we can do none of that on this show. Teddy, it's time for your big game breakdown.
It certainly is, Lawrence. And you can always do another show that's all politics all the time.
No,
Not
I
this
can't,
one,
Teddy.
This.
I would,
You could.
half the people would end up hating me. The problem right now is that everything is so polarizing. You say one thing, 50% of the people scream and yell at you. You say that, these people scream and yell at you. Yeah, I can't do it. But I want to, but I can't. But I want to,
Lawrence,
but I can't.
more than half the people hate you already. It's not going to make any difference in that regard. Let's talk big game breakdown. And of course, I'm focused on football right now. Not going to lie. My NFL win report comes out next Tuesday. The report's been nothing short of outstanding. 150 over the 23 years, 67% winners. And of course, the big tickets, the 5% big ticket reports, 16 and 4, 80% during that span. So yes, I'm focused on NFL right now. But we're still doing baseball every single day. And I want to talk about the Guardians and Royals, the two most surprising teams to the upside in the AL this year. That said, Ralph talked about earlier, one of them's coming back to earth. You know, a month ago, the Royals were 34-19 and right an 8-game winning streak. They're 10-19 since. They're coming off a win. They're 2-7 off their last 9 wins. They won yesterday against Miami. The bats are ice cold. We're talking about 2.1 runs per game during their last 10. They're no contender. They've only got one direction to trend in, and that's down. Guardians lost their last game. They're 8-3 the last 11 tries off a loss since early May. Bet on. They're still 7-1 their last 8 overall, winning. We look at the 50-plus win teams this year. Yankees, Orioles, Dodgers, Phillies. No shocker. Guardians are. Why are they here? The bullpen's been great. Best bullpen in baseball. Starting pitching, better than expected. And they've been scoring runs. Last year, 4th worst in the majors, 4.1 runs per game. This year, number 3 in the majors, 5.1 runs per game. The 3rd lowest strikeout total. They're just putting the ball in play. The markets don't love Ben Lively. His advanced metric stats are mediocre at best. He doesn't notch strikeouts. He doesn't need innings. He hasn't finished the 6th in any June start. That said, I love pitchers like Lively who don't get the advanced metric respect. The Guardians 6-1 his last 7 trips to the hill. And in 12 starts this year, he's given up 3 runs or less 11 times. Allowed 4 runs once. Never once has he been truly lit up. KC, I worry about Waka. He's good. But they're 0-3 in his last 3 starts and 5-8 with him on the hill for a team that's 6 games over 500. And again, bullpens, number 1 bullpen versus number 27 bullpens. Even if everything else is even, Cleveland has the edge. Short chalk worth laying. Guardians are pass for this better. There's your big game breakdown. Back to you, Mr. Prez.
There we go. Both Ralph Michaels and Teddy covers like the Cleveland Guardians. Ralph liked the Cleveland Indians, for the record. Teddy likes the Cleveland Guardians. Somebody in the chat room said nobody calls them the Guardians, Teddy. Let's bring Kyle Anthony in. You do. Kyle, what up? What's up with this smug look? What's going on, dude? You had a big night last night? You got a woman downstairs? What's going on?
I'm just enjoying the show, Prez. I'm just enjoying the show. You're such a great host and captivating. And I'm just really glad we're not talking about politics. So that's good. That's why I'm smiling, pretty much.
Kyle, before we get into your picks, I watched a movie last night that I think you would enjoy a lot. It's called Life After Fighting. Life After Fighting. It's with a gentleman named Bren something or other, an Australian movie. The fight scenes were as good as you'll ever see in your life. It is literally an ode to Taekwondo, Muay Thai, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. The movie was really, really good. And man, I like the last act, at least 20 minutes of just straight fighting with some of the best choreography you'll ever see in your life.
Netflix? Is it on?
No, it's on, and I say this, I have to be very quiet. My Flixer. Or
okay.
You know, yeah.
Okay. All right. Gotcha.
Brother. So I want to talk Orlovsky first. We're going to swap these around, and Teddy can go into the Anthony Smith. How old is this guy?
45.
Oh.
I think his debut was, UFC 30 or somewhere around there, and we're at UFC 303. So that's he's been there for the ride.
Yeah. And he still has the fangs going?
He gave up the fangs a while ago. He's a little more tempered at this point. We'll get into some of that, but that's he's a little bit more relaxed out there than usual.
Well, he's fighting Martin Boudet, and he is plus 220. And you think there's value on this decrepit 40-year-old man, 45-year-old?
I actually do. Now, this line actually opened up. Boudet was around a minus 400, so which is even crazier. The market has kind of moved in on this, and I do agree with that here, that this line was just crazy wide. And when you're kind of looking at what Boudet does well, I would say not much. I mean, the guy definitely, he's got size, he can move forward, he can bully around, but he's going to really just look to cage push people, hold them up against the fence, keep them there, dirty box a little bit, hold them, and then if he can, get him down, but his striking is not very good. And this is going to be outside of the apex cage, so they're going to have an extra 30% more cage, which I do think really does help Arlovsky in this spot, because if this was in the apex, I think the shorter distance, I think he could bully Arlovsky a little bit more and push him up against the fence, and it's going to be boring if that's what he looks to do. But I do think that when you've got a line this wide, and Boudet just lost to Shamil Gaziev, who I think is absolute trash and got knocked out in the second round, now we're looking at a minus 400 number. Yes, he's 45 years old, and there is absolute concerns there, the chin concern there. But, the one thing about, to your point you're kind of talking about there, is about, Arlovsky reinvented himself years ago, where instead of being this bruiser coming forward, swinging, not really caring, he realized that's not a good path, and really longevity in his career. He has turned into really a point machine. Over his last 10 fights, all of them have come by, last 10 wins, have come by decision. So this guy's been a decision machine at this point. And I just think that Boudet is sloppy. I don't think that he has good process to his striking. He doesn't set anything up. And I really think the big advantage is going to be the hand speed and the footwork of Arlovsky over 15 minutes. Like, I just think he can pitter-patter some shots. I think he can outland him, leg kick him. And I think also you look at Boudet, if he could get a takedown, he's probably going to bank the round, maybe even finish Arlovsky. But over those 6 UFC fights for Boudet, he's only had 1 successful takedown. So that isn't even a path that's really there. Could possibly be there, but I don't really think so. So I do like Arlovsky. I think that it's going to be way closer than this line indicates. So I do like Arlovsky here. Pitter-patter shots over 3 rounds. So the plus 220 line, I think, is a fair number here.
Well, let's talk about one more fight for Saturday night. June 29th here at T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas. Roman Dolidze versus Anthony Smith. We've got Dolidze, and I think I'm pronouncing his name right, but I could be completely off. Minus 140, minus 145 in that range. Total in this fight, 2.5. What are we going to do with Smith and Dolidze?
Yeah, so, and you did pronounce it right. So Roman Dolidze here, he's a minus 150 favorite. And when I'm capping fights, diving in, looking at research, I mean, the one thing you got to look at when you're looking at a favorite is that, he's got to have multiple paths to victory. He's got to have options. He's got to have ways to win the fight, or just really one dominant path that nobody can really stop. And you're looking at Dolidze here, I mean, I don't really see it. I mean, this guy, to me, is extremely one-dimensional, does not really have, again, another guy who has a limited process to what he does. And listen, if he gets this fight to the ground, the guy is elite grappler. He's got a submission threat. We saw what he did with Jack Hermanson, the transitions, reversals, all those things that he does, really incredible when he's on the ground. Here's another position where this guy doesn't really wrestle. Out of his last 5 UFC fights, he has no takedowns. So again, that really limits his probability and his paths to victory. And even you're looking at even further is Anthony Smith, there's a good chance Anthony Smith is also washed here. I mean, this guy has more MMA mileage than most, and that's going to hurt him here. But the other part of it is he's also been a little bit more patient, a little bit more, just working his striking. He's got crisper combinations. I also think that his volume is going to be a lot better than Dolidze, where Dolidze, his striking is absolute shit. He doesn't really do much, really just spams overhand rights, doesn't set up anything, doesn't work the body, doesn't mix it up, where I do think that's where Anthony Smith is going to have some success, where if he can keep this standing, he's pretty solid, on the feet, working out from combinations at distance, and I just don't think that Dolidze really does too much besides for that. And also you add in the leg kicks. I think that's going to be a big spot for Anthony Smith. You saw what he did against Vitor Petrino in his last fight, where he was a big underdog, and he was just chopping down Vitor, ended up really kind of helping him get that victory there. I think that's what happens here with Dolidze. He has no striking at all. I think that, listen, he could land a big bomb. It's fighting. Dolidze has the opportunity to throw the big overhand, but I think that's things that Smith can stay safe, work at range, and find the opportunity to get the victory here. So I do like Anthony Smith here, another plus money winner here. I think that Smith gets the job done at the plus 120 number.
Kyle Anthony, what do you got to promote?
So this weekend, big card, UFC 303, 5% play up right now, 7-0 in 2024 on 5% plays. We've been really kicking ass when it comes to those. Even the 4% now are 13-4 on the year. So really, really finding a lot of success here. Right now have, I think it's 4 plays up right now that I do have, and I'm going to be adding to it. I'm probably going to have about 7 positions on this card. I love it from a betting perspective, and I know we always talk about, we're looking at these big cards, and those are the sexy ones to bet, but, last weekend we were profitable, out of 19 UFC events, we've cashed 15 of them, so these are not all pay-per-view events. There's always going to be fighting, so we do like it. Also, the fact that this over for the month, what is it, MMA 30? I don't even know my own promo code. MMA 30, you get $30 off my monthly, so check that out as well, and let's get it done this weekend.
Kyle freaking Anthony. So just to summarize, Kyle, you're 20-4 on the year in all UFC bets 4% or higher.
Yes.
Wow. I mean, that rivals your female numbers, bro. I mean that. And I was curious, Kyle. These fights are always on a Saturday night, and it got me thinking: isn't Kyle busy on a Saturday night? And then I realized Kyle's busy every bloody night. There's never a night Kyle's not busy.
I work it in. I find the ways to work it in. But I got business first. Business first.
Okay, well, if you want to date Kyle, his Twitter handle is, what is it, Kyle?
At Kyle Anthony UFC, and I'm taking applications.
There you go. Kyle Anthony, everyone. Outstanding stuff. Teddy, fun show. Tomorrow we got a great lineup as well. Andy Lang, Ross Benjamin, and Carmine Bianco coming back. Speaking of Carmine, it is his birthday today. Shout out to my boy. And I think it is Drew Martin's birthday as well. Shout out to Drew. Teddy Covers, we'll see you tomorrow, brother. Take us home.
Sure. Thanks for watching. Enjoy the games, and best of luck with all your bets. We'll be back tomorrow with another episode of WagerTalk Today. Cheers.